So again, Bismillah Rahman Rahim. We now start the second session of 10th Pakistan CIO Summit 2024. First, we have a presentation from GBM, and then we have a presentation from computer research, and then we have a panel discussion being moderated by Vakar Islam. So now I request Hummad bin Naseer.
Correct.
And I request Hummad to kindly join me on stage and start the session. Thank you so much.
Thank you. My name is Hummad bin Naseer. I am from GBM. I look after software solutions. And as it was displayed earlier, I'm going to talk about safer payments. But before that, let me just share what Asif Bhai also mentioned that about his early days. A long time back, about maybe a late decade of last millennium, I was part of a company that launched credit cards commercially first in Pakistan. So that was a unique event in terms of payments, because initially it was we still actually are, we were a cash economy, so the credit cards were launched. So when you were using a credit card, you had to go and present your credit card. They had an imprinter, they would imprint the credit card on that. Merchant code was written. The person used to call an authorizer in a bank. They would authorize the transaction, and the payment transaction was made. Very safe. But now come now in 2024, I was just reading on the net right now, that retail transactions have grown, as per the State Bank, the numbers 45 trillion. So once you have that scale, this is not practical. You have to have mechanisms, you have to have processes, you have to have automations. So what I'm going to talk about is how those mechanisms, those processes can be achieved, and through a solution which is driven by IBM and presented by GBM. Okay. Since I have about 15 minutes, I'm going to share the stage with my colleagues. I'm going to be very concise. I can spend the entire 15 minutes on this slide, but I'm just going to relate and run through this, and then we relate it later on. So why is this solution different? What has IBM done? What have they done is, they've done peer-to-peer profiling. Once you do a profiling in a solution, you have the profiling done of the payer, who's paying and who's buying. That's fine. But once you do a reverse profiling of a pair as a buyer as well, a new picture is being presented. So what that does is that it presents a picture where you know who are you buying from and who are you being bought from. Okay, what this allows is that it happens that you have a picture which is clear, so that there's no chances of being what you call as money which is being transferred illegally, as mentioned, mule accounts. Then, what this solution does is that it does a cross-channel profiling. People who are here who understand that previously there was one channel, there was a card issuer, that's it. Now we have multiple channels. We have payment platforms, we have processors, we have retail banks. So if I ask that, say you are a bank, you are a risk manager, and you have a transaction coming through for approval that you are remitting funds to Thailand, maybe $10,000. Will you approve? Any risk manager over here? I don't think so, because it's a high-risk transaction. But if you have a cross-channel profiling where you know that this person has used his credit card in Thailand, he uses ATM. So, and of course, once you have an ATM and a credit card, those things are difficult to forge. You have a picture, a profile appearing that this person, this customer of ours is visiting that country. Then you will, of course, process this transaction. So this is another feature of our solution, that we do cross-channel profiling. We use channels like ATMs, credit cards, and things like this. Then, this relates to the theme of this event, is that we use additional data sources. As I said, that you can have varied data sources for different positions that you have in a financial institutions or a financial organization. You have be a platform, processor, retail bank. So what this does is that, like, I, as Hummad bin Naseer, have a mobile phone. If I am used to making that transactions from my mobile phone, it'll have a digital imprint with that bank, or should be with that bank. Once I use that channel or that mobile phone, it is an imprint that so it's a legal transaction. But if you have a transaction from a mobile phone which is not imprinted, doesn't have digital imprint, it is a risky transaction. Data science. As mentioned by multiple presenters and panelists, we have multiple data models now. Data model is something which is omnipresence. You have data models from companies like Google, Amazon. So there's plethora of data models available in the industry. We use all those data models, or we have the capacity to use all those data models. And once we do, you use those data models, it is not intrusive in the sense that all those testing and all that modeling is done in a sandbox. So it is safe. And of course, this is very important. The fifth point is very important because you see, they say that the industry is a step ahead of a regulator, and the people who make living out of fraud and making frauds are one step ahead of the industry. So if you have a person whose 90% of living is from fraud, he will make sure that he's going to bypass your models. He will make sure he'll be working on bleeding edge of technology. So you have to have a solution which has the capacity to do agile modeling, work, rework, remodel. And as I said earlier, it is done in a sandbox, so it is very relevant and very safe. Okay, now, this is basically some industry figures, which of course is related to us, but I'm not going to spend time on these because these are relevant, but for your understanding, they are just numbers. This is something I was talking about, that how this industry or this methodology or the capacity to work on safe implements, how relevant it is, because it's something that you can't ignore, because it's a big ticket item. It's going to hurt you as an organization. What this solution does is that once you have this solution, you have more time to say risks. Since you have tech-savvy criminals, you work on technology which is bleeding edge, so you stop those criminals, and you stop large data breaches, and you can work on legacy black box systems which are slow to adopt. And most important, it reduces false positives. Because what is false positive? False positive is a legal transaction. So once you have the capacity to stop false positives, it not only allows you to make smooth functioning, it makes your customer happy. Because if you're going to stop the customer transaction which is legal, you're going to have an unhappy customer. Okay, why have clients chosen safe implements? Very important. So that's why it's mentioned earlier. It reduces false positive. Since we work in agile technology, it works and stops sophisticated fraudulent transactions. It gives a good customer experience. Now, this is very important. Let me just spend some time on this. You see, in terms of how this industry has progressed, is that previously what banks used to do is they used to have their They had local models of what if this happens, if the transaction amount is for this amount, it goes to a CRO. And it was all manual. But now what this does is this is your capacity of you bring your own models, to work and build your own models. And then you can ingest models which are made specifically for you or help you. Data models from Amazon, from Google, from all those sources, plethora of sources which are available, since this system is open source and it works on a service-oriented architecture, and people who know architecture, service-oriented architecture is the most easy to integrate. So it allows you and gives you capacity and gives you the ability to work on all those models and puts the power in your hands. This is how it actually functions. As you can see, you have these all multiple channels over here. You have this user, and this is basically a box approach of a safer payment solution. You have a master data, and you have the capacity to integrate more complex solutions, which are trustier. It can be any solution, which can supplement and augment your capacity to detect. I'll just stop here so that you can absorb this slide, because it's important to assess what are we doing over here. We're working on a system which allows the customer to make a transaction. That transaction is being analyzed through outside systems. You are making a model. Basically, if you work on a solution which is case management, it basically models your business process. You work on a case management. You develop a process flow on all those areas that you identify as risky. Those are addressed. Those are analyzed through multiple channels, as I said, and then you have a result, whether it is a transaction which is legal or illegal. A virtual multi-language assistant. So we have AI and machine language embedded in that solution. 1 second. If you can see what I was talking about, the capacity to ingest, you can see you have the capacity to ingest outside models. Once you ingest outside models, only the model is ingested. The code of your solution is not touched. That is why it works on a sandbox environment. So it allows you to build or make yourself more intelligent by using outside models, but at the same time does not harm the integrity of your solution. Okay, this is basically an architecture. It normally comes with 3 nodes, so it's basically very resilient in terms of functioning. Key features I've already addressed. Multi-channels, throughput. Since you have an environment where you have the number of transactions increasing, it basically allows you to match that volume of transactions. It is powered by all of these intelligent systems that we have, which is basically AI-driven. So you have an intelligent portfolio at hand, which allows you to match the intelligence that you are being faced. These are some of our references. People who are interested, of course, if you have any more questions, we can come and discuss it from our stand. But this is basically where the solution is making a difference in the eyes of the customers and their profitability. Already addressed this. In terms of its solution viability, because of course you have to have a solution which is financially viable for you. So it is financially viable. It reduces the cost per transaction. And these are some of the customer references we can present. So I am on time, 14 minutes and 30 seconds. So this is basically it. So we have a solution which allows you to function in the high volume environment, and it allows you to make transactions which are legal and separate the ones who are not legal. So thank you very much. I know there might be questions, but I will be in my stall and you can come and talk to me later. Thank you very much. Yes, I will be inviting my colleague Junaid Saeed, who is going to talk about risk and compliance.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Junaid. I'm working with GBM, and I've been in the GRC industry for a decade now. And in the last 10 years, what I've experienced is that there's one common problem that all organizations face. And that common problem has a name. It's called Excel sheets. So no matter how much we try to automate our system, we cannot deviate away from the Excel sheets. And it's a challenge for all of us, all across the organizations. And in an earlier discussion, one of the panel members over here was saying that we have not shined through our last 4 waves of transformation, and we have not, because we still have a problem that we are still using Excel. So what I want to do today is I want to introduce to you a solution. This solution will take you away from the Excel sheets, put some automation in, some integration in, and it would also bring you to the level where AI would actually start functioning and start helping you within your organization and within your different practices. So the name of my solution is IBM Open Pages with Watson. Okay, so what is IBM Open Pages? It's a tool that automates different GRC areas of your organizations. So we have a modular approach to help you with your different practices. May it be operational risk. So if it's operational risk, so we have a module for your operational risk practice. So your operational risk management will be completely automated with our tool. I know that currently a lot of the banks and financial institutions and different big organizations, they are using Excel sheets to manage their risk. But Excel sheet is an Excel sheet. It's good for record keeping, but as soon as you try to deviate away from record keeping and try to do something more, Excel sheets become a challenge. So that's where IBM Open Pages comes in. So we have modules for different practices. We have one for operational risk management. We have multiple modules which talk to your compliance management and regulatory needs. We have a module for IT security, internal audit, business continuity management, model risk governance, and ESG are some of the new areas which are coming in. So what it does is that it provides you an environment that can automate the organization's entire GRC landscape. These modules, they are not silo system. There is no silo system for operational risk. Nothing is happening in silo. So maybe the controls from the operational risk, they are also being audited by our IEM module. So you don't need to go to another department or another system and ask for that particular data. That particular data is still there. It's there for you to use whenever you want it. So IBM Open Pages is integrated. All the modules are talking with each other. All the people, they're using the same data. And that's how the GRC steps up. The first step up was from Excel to GRC, and then the GRC, the different modules, the different GRC practices, they are talking to each other. So that's where it becomes an integrated GRC. And then along the way, I would tell you how the AI would come into play and help you with all these practices. So let me start introducing to you different modules of our solution. So if I can just proceed forward. Okay, so one of our modules is for compliance management. So there might be different regulations that the government has imposed. There might be different standards or ethical practices that the organization is trying to follow. So no matter what type of mandate is, this mandate goes into our GRC solution. It may be PCI DSS, ISO, Swift. There are other standards, COSO, COBIT, NISA. There's a whole list of standards. They may be coming from the UCF library. So it becomes a very diverse environment where all these regulations are coming in from. If you try to maintain this in an Excel sheet, it won't be one Excel sheet. It would be many big Excel sheets. So what the system does is that this system, it takes ingest all the data that is coming from different instruments, and it tries to break them up into a structured format. You will get your mandates. The mandates will be broken down into different regulations and requirements. And then from these requirements would come your obligations. And these obligations would certainly have some set of controls that would be implemented within your organization to comply to these particular standards. So once the system has done it, like your requirements, your obligations, and at the end, your controls. Once this breakdown is done, then how the system helps you is what I would like to explain. So there are different kind of things that you can benefit from. One of the use cases would be that all these instruments and all these regulations, you can perform attestation campaigns. You can perform awareness campaigns throughout your organization. You can tag different departments that, okay, this is a regulation that the organization has to follow, and this is the control that needs to be implemented, and you need to make sure that these regulations are being followed. So once you have performed your attestation and awareness campaigns, what you can do is on the next step, you can perform compliance assessments. You can go to your, and by go I don't mean go over there or send them an email or send them their relevant Excel sheet. You just have to do one click and the relevant departments would have to answer, because this is the governance that the tool enforces on your employees. So those people will have to tell, okay, there are 10 controls with me, and how many controls I am compliant to. And with this, what the system would be able to do, that it would be able to calculate how much compliant they are to maybe PCI DSS, to UAE-IA. This is one of the standard from where I'm coming from. And at the end, you would get a graph like this, which tells you that as simple as in the organization, where I'm standing when I look at PCI DSS, what is my compliance, what is my compliance for ISO, what is my compliance for other sort of standards and regulations. And then the next thing that you can do is that after the departments have been informed about their duties, and you have asked them, are you compliant or not? Then you can actually go in and perform a second step of assurance for this compliance. That is, all the controls, you would be able to start testing those controls. And with the testing, you would be able to see the test results that, okay, there was a control, this was the test procedure, and was the test procedure followed? And when we followed the test procedure, what was the result? Did we fail or did we pass? And at the end, it would summarize and aggregate the control testing data, and it would show you a graph. Okay, my total controls was this number, 7 have failed, passed to 24, and there are 15 which are in the gray area. So this would give you an oversight. Okay, I was 100% compliant, but still my controls are failing. So then you can go down into those particular areas and see what's happening with the controls, why they are failing. And then it brings us to the next step after control testing, is that, okay, PCI DSS, ISO, Swift, whatever kind of standard they are. We may be 100% compliant, 90% compliant, but sometimes these incidents come in that non-compliant thing happens within the organization. So somebody needs to report that, and that gets reported within the system, and that incident gets put through a governance process, some defined and hard-coded workflows where the incident goes through different approvals and different reviews and different management steps so that this incident could be reviewed and then closed. So once that is done, you get another overview chart that let's say 12% of our incidents they're closed and the rest are open. So let's see why they're not closed and what's happening with them. Go down, go to the owners, see what's happening. And that's where the AI can come in. What happens is that these incidents, they may be coming from the transactional data. Transactional data, as my last colleague said, that 45 trillion is a big number, and this number is the same across every kind of transactional data. So it might not be humanly possible to go through all the data, or even if it's possible, it becomes very time consuming. So what the AI can do, or where the AI can help, is that any relevant AI model can look at the transactional data, bring out these specific incidents, like if there is some fraud happening and the AI thinks it's a fraud incident. So that particular transaction, it can flag within our GRC system, and then in our GRC system, we kickstart a workflow, and it takes you through different review and approval and remediation steps to take care of that incident, and then implement something that this incident does not happen again. So you see, we deviated from the Excel sheets, and we are implementing some automation. But along with the automation, the AI is also helping you along with the way. One thing I forgot to mention earlier is that when you are defining these different regulations within the system, the regulation itself, there might be 20, 30, 40 regulations, but these regulations are very extensive. They might have 800 controls within one regulation, and these controls, they might already be existing within your library. So you don't know if the control that you're creating for a new regulation already exists or not, or if there are already some relevant controls that could help us with the obligation for this new regulation or any other regulation. So we have an AI component within our system which actually reads the description or the text of the regulation, and it suggests to you that these are the relevant controls which already exist in your library. They're relevant for this regulation. I'm attaching it. You have a review and make a decision that whether you want it or not. So from this big forest of the controls that would be in your GRC universe and your GRC landscape, it would be almost humanly impossible to reduce these redundancies. So that's where our AI component of the tool helps, and it reduces, because you do not want to do control testing for the same control 3, 4, or 5 times. You don't want to do that. So that's where our AI helps. And the next thing after that happens is that you are able to do risk assessment and metrics tracking. So what you, let me just go one step back. Yeah. So what you would be able to do with this tool is that with all the obligations and regulations, you would be able to identify different type of risks which are emanating from the non-compliance of that particular mandate. And once you identify, you're able to do the risk assessment, again, not in Excel sheets, but with an automated system that is in place. And once that happens, all the relevant risk champions and owners from their relevant departments They provide the new ratings for these new risks and the new scores for these new controls. Our system starts aggregating the data, and this data would generate a heat map like this, or maybe a control. I'm almost done. Okay, give me 2 minutes. Okay, so it can do that. So risk assessment, metric tracking, that can be done. And then there's another module called information security, where you're doing all this compliance bits. But what you're also doing is that you're managing your IT risk and controls. And what happens is that there is a big size of information security transactional data as well, where you can again implement AI, figure out those particular not fraud, but IT security incidents, and then bring them into the system, put it on a dashboard for the management to review, and then take it through a workflow process to remediate those. So this is, I won't go into the details of this particular dashboard because I've almost already run out of time. So yeah, but this is the kind of output you get. And then we have another module for operational risk management, which take care of a lot of your operational risk areas. I will just quickly go over them. You have your centralized processes and control libraries. You perform your RCSAs, indicator tracking, loss data management, remediation, and risk appetite. So an interesting conversation I was having last week was with a client where he wants to track the behavior of his organization's employees. How soon do they take action on the, I'm unable to go back, yeah. How soon they are able to take action on an action which has been assigned to them. So automation is there, but then AI would come in and it would actually do analysis on the timing of when the action was performed by a particular user, and then they would be able to tell that if somebody is a procrastinator or somebody does it very quickly. So that's either an award or some disciplinary steps that are coming from the management. So that's where automation along with AI helps you along the way. And similarly, we have another module, the last one that I'm going to present, is that business continuity management. So we have the same process risk and control libraries that we had earlier implemented for our operational risk practice. We can do business impact analysis on them. We build continuity plans, go down, test them, and then when you put them in action, we do the disaster recovery. So to conclude it all, what I would like to say is that we have this environment where you have all these different modules which have taken you away from the Excel sheets. So these will be the same words. And they are talking to each other. AI is helping you along the way. And we are providing the organizations a safer environment to operate in. Thank you.